The question is regarding the origins of our civilization. Gautam Buddha's history is quite well recorded. Yet, a Buddha does not drop out of thin air without having a huge preceding history of a highly evolved civilization. When do you think our civilization must have developed stable, advanced societies? So, Palash, you are absolutely right. Somebody like the Buddha does not drop out of thin air. There has to be a long historical precedent and a great deal of socio-cultural and civilizational context. Somebody like the Buddha cannot evolve out of a barbaric, primitive society. Somebody like the Buddha or even Mahavira cannot emerge out of a society which is not highly evolved. So it's clear that the Buddha and Mahavira of Jainism, who are believed to be contemporaries, it is clear that these two great souls, these two great individuals, were the outcome of a very ancient civilization, of a civilization that was already very ancient 2,500 years before today. And we know that the Buddha is not the first Buddha. There is, according to Buddhist tradition, there were many Buddhas before the last one, before Siddhartha Gautam. And even in the Jain tradition, Mahavir is just one of a long line of great Jain Tirthankars. So it's very clear that Indian historical tradition, Itihas, says that India had a very, very long history before the Buddha and before Mahavira. And the Greek historical sources corroborate this because uh, Greek ambassadors who came to the court of our emperor Chandragupta Maurya, they wrote that the Indian calendrical system of that time dated back to at least 6,600 and something BCE. So that is a whole lot of time. That's almost 9,000 years before today. And there were records of lineages and dynasties that stretched all the way back to before 6,000 BCE. So that tells you that we have been, our ancestors were recording events in our indigenous calendar. They had been doing this for at least 8,000 years before today. So it's clear that a culture that develops a calendar would have been highly evolved even before that. So that would tell you that Indian culture had been evolving for thousands of years before 6,000 BCE. And that's how they were able to mature and create a highly accurate calendar. So I would say that this is evidence that India's civilization is millennia older than Gautam Buddha and Mahavira. It goes back to at least 6,000, 7,000 BCE. Most likely it is much older than even 10,000 years before today. So we have sufficient evidence from multiple sources, from archaeological sources, calendrical sources, from Greek sources, etc., that all point in the same direction, that India's civilization is extremely ancient. It may well date back to before 10,000 BCE, before 10,000 years before today. So I hope that historical research proceeds in that direction. There is a lot to uncover. We are at the very beginning of, I believe, a new phase of historical research with India as the focus. So it's a very exciting time ahead, and I look forward to that.